New year, new planner. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Leuchtturm1917 Change Journal. All right, let's go ahead and dive in. This is the Leuchtturm, correct me if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm sure you will, 1917 Change Journal. When I first noticed this book, I was over at Jenny Bick Design, which is one of my favorite stationery stores here in the DC area, but I have since seen it in Barnes & Noble as well as on Amazon. When I looked at it, not only was it this beautiful gray color, but it also had things here that really piqued my interest. Well, first, the name is the Change Journal, and it has this rose gold or copper embossing here that says Change Journal, and it says 24 methods for self-optimization, only a few minutes a day. That was intriguing. But then when I looked here on the right-hand side, it had Pareto principle, Eisenhower principle, digital detox, single tasking, and marginal gains. All of that is right up my alley. So I was really excited to hash out the big bucks to get my hands on this journal. At the time of this recording, this journal comes in this gray color. It's kind of like a medium gray color, as well as a pink that's called berry. The journal costs $39.95 US if you purchase it from Amazon. And that is quite a bit more than getting just a regular Leuchtturm notebook. Those will run you about $25 on Amazon and about the same amount at a local bookstore or large notebook chains. That is about $15 more than your run-of-the-mill Leuchtturm hardcover notebook. That's gonna run you about $25 on Amazon or at your local bookseller. That's also $10 or $15 more than the bullet journal branded Leuchtturm notebooks. These have a thicker paper and they also have a few extras. I have it in the pink and the navy. These are edition 2s. So this journal is substantially more expensive than just a blank Leuchtturm notebook or even the bullet journal branded. So let's see what you get for the extra expense. This is a size 8.5 journal, so it's about the same size as those other books that I just showed you from the same brand. This has a matching elastic that helps the book stay closed, and it also has 2 bookmarks. This is pretty standard for this brand. You're gonna have a bookmark that is the same color as the journal cover, and then one that is also the same color but has a gray stripe. Once I take this off, there is a little paper here that indicates some of the features. So let's check out what that says. It says, how can I make the most of my potential? How can I boost my productivity? How do I get a clearer idea of what my goals are? So there are some questions. It says that this journal comprises 24 effective yet simple methods for self-optimization. So that is the branding at the front and the back. We do have a little Leuchtturm 1917 here at the bottom. Opening it up, we have some of the same inserts that you get in the other journals. It says a little bit about the brand, including their different sizes. They have the largest A4 size and the smallest A7 size, the different types of paper that they have, the different types of planners, and some accessories like their pencil and pencil loop. Then there is this card that says thank you very much for purchasing this product and a little bit about their history. That front page here has please return to and a section for you to place your name and contact information, and it also says thank you very much at the bottom. And it has some quotes here. Changing ourselves is probably the toughest challenge of all. This change journal makes it simple for you because simple is simply simpler. I agree in spirit, like if we can keep our systems and processes as simple as possible, it does increase the likelihood that we're gonna stick with it and engage in those behavior changes or actually utilize those systems. But I wonder how much of this is really an impact of a language barrier. I wonder if this was translated from another language or if that's exactly what they meant to say. I'm not sure, but I have already previewed this entire journal. I have some strong feelings, but let's go ahead and walk through it. there is a section here. I love that it gives you an estimated read time here at the top. So they think it's going to take you about 3 minutes to get through their system. So the person, the author of this journal, explains that he has been putting together disparate ideas, things that he has read through guidebooks, blogs, planners, and journals, and he decided that he wanted to put all of those together and work with this company in order to create this change journal. So he wants these 24 ideas and hacks to inspire and guide you, and kind of for you to try out some of these tips and tricks. So there is that bit of introduction. That is followed by a quote page here. Start off with whatever interests you most or appears easiest to you. Just make sure you get started. So here are the 24 ideas listed from 1 to 24. But I think what this is prompting you to do is to select where you want to start. So you can kind of pick your own adventure rather than going in order with number 1, which is water, and 24, which is journaling. You can kind of peruse and see what interests you. The things that the 24 ideas that are covered in this journal are water, thanks, rewards, circle trick, digital detox, the Eisenhower principle, habits, clarity, pitch yourself, compliments, reading, marginal gains, the word no, single tasking, clearing out, the Pareto principle, comfort zone, strengths, essentialism, love it, goals, the tomato technique, emails, saving, and journaling. And it also has a website here where you can find examples of all the templates. If you're interested, it says change-journal.com/examples. So going in here first, there is a picture here and it has some stats about things like life expectancy, number of cigarettes consumed per adult per day since the 1900s to 2014. So we see a decrease in that. Worldwide mobile internet speed has gone up. Hours of household chores per week has gone down pretty substantially from 58 hours to 15.5 hours. The title here is The World Has Improved, Why Shouldn't You? I think I get the general sentiment, but I'm feeling a little lost. Like I'm not automatically like buying in to what I'm supposed to be doing or how I'm supposed to be using the journal. And I don't know if it's just because I have gone through so many different guided journals and I really like feel a sense of connection, or I can follow step by step what is happening, but like I'm not immediately drawn to this journal, which is shocking, but let's just keep going. Number 1 is water, and it talks a little bit about why water is important, why regular intake of water is critical, and also like eating fruits and vegetables. But there's no activity related to it. It just explains the value of water. The second portion here has to do with thanks, and it says it goes over some of the benefits of gratitude, speaking gratitude, noting gratitude, and here it does have 3 steps for you to be able to focus on thanks. This activity is pretty interesting because it says start by identifying something positive in your life. So that could be like a person or an object or like a relationship that you have. And then imagine your life without that element, and then utilize that dissonance, utilize that sense of loss to think deeply about how thankful you are for having that in your life. It is a way to do it. It is. So we'll move on from there. All right, here are the activities. Now, this is how the journal is set up. It has a little kind of didactic portion. It talks you through the activity or the idea, and then it lets you practice, and it gives you 7 different opportunities to practice that. So you have a week to practice thanks. And the prompts here are the same. So starting with, for who or what am I grateful? How does he, she, it enrich my life? How would my life be without this person or thing? And then here at the very bottom, you have some water droplets where you can identify how much water you've had. Low light, which there isn't directions that I can immediately see. Perhaps like I'm looking to see if the instructions are listed here. But I think the low light, I would imagine, is kind of like the worst time of the day, like your low point, and then your highlight would be your high point. And what can I change? You have a little part here to put what you can change. And then you have numbers here from 1 to 10, where I'm assuming you can rate your day. On top here, you can know if it's what day of the week it is, as well as the date. And at the very bottom, there are some quotes. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 opportunities for thanks. And then you have a weekly review. The weekly review prompts are: what am I thankful for? What did I learn? Did you find it easy to take daily notes on most of the things? And what were you thankful for? And there's also a free download where you can download these pages for your thanks. There's also a free download where you can download these templates so that you can continue your gratitude practice. After water and thanks, number 3 is rewards. This section focuses on building rewards to increase the likelihood that you're going to engage in the desired behavior or refrain from the desired behavior. It reviews what is an effective reward. It should be proportionate to the task. It should be realistic and within your reach. It shouldn't contradict the principle of the task. Like if you want to lose weight, you shouldn't reward yourself with like a calorically dense food. And then the reward should not be used in an inflationary way is what it says. And it says if it becomes bigger or more expensive, after a while, it will no longer have the desired effect. I am not sure if that is true. If there is a reference that he is referring to or that shows that, like if there's a study that you're aware of, please pop it in the description down below. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Jamie. Hi, I'm a psychologist and I work full-time as a behavioral scientist. So whenever I make commentary, I do try to list references that support or refute that, or kind of my sources. And I don't see any references here, and that is not necessarily a deal breaker, but I'm already coming to this with like a bias where I'm not a huge fan. I'm just like not immediately drawn to these concepts. So I'm just acknowledging that, but I'm not sure if that's true or not. The next page has you list ideas for rewards: small, tiny rewards, medium rewards, and large rewards. And then it moves on. It has this quote here: if I did the same thing I did today every day, what would my future be like? All right, we come to the circle trick. I'm excited because I've never heard of the circle trick before. All right, what is the circle trick? Okay, the circle trick, from what I could gather from reading this, is simply to use iconography similar to a bullet journal in front of a task to signify whether or not it's a small task, a new task, it's like under development or previously started, if it's important, if it's urgent, if you've delegated it. So ways for you to classify your tasks. And it does have, I'm guessing, 7 pages for you to put that into practice. So it has your highlight and low light for the day. What can you change? Your rating system, and it continues on with the water tracking. But these 7 pages also have a little space here for you to have some sort of icon for what you're trying to do, so for the task, and then it has another column here for when you're going to do the task. We come to another weekly review. What am I thankful for? What did I learn? Now, I thought that had to do with the gratitude practice from the last group of exercises, but perhaps this is gonna follow us along across the entire journal. Here it's asking, what have you taken the circles to heart? If yes, continue using them. If no, then download the PDF circle to print it out and repeat the exercise. So if it didn't work for you, it's recommending that you download the PDFs of these entries, and then you repeat the exercise. Not sure if it doesn't work for you and you've tried it for a week, if there aren't just other things that you might want to try. If you do want to try, by all means, give it a good try by waiting, a few weeks, even trying something and seeing if it sticks. But there's also nothing wrong with also saying, like, if you're not feeling it, if this might not work for you, move on. There are 23 other practices in this book that might be helpful for you. Picture of a dude in a shirt saying, put down your phone and pick up your life. All right, that is related to the next section here, which is the digital detox. They do have some facts that highlight our addiction or our attachment to being in the digital world, and an exercise for you to do. So here you're asked how much time you spend on social media, on your computer, on chat apps, smartphone, TV, and your accounts, and any kind of other electronics. Then you can project out your use over the course of a year. You're filling in each square for 10 minutes of time throughout your day. So this has an element of behavioral monitoring, which we know is actually pretty effective at helping with behavioral change. So the premise behind this is like a solid, decent premise, and it has a really concrete way for you to monitor that behavior over the course of a week. The weekly review again has those prompts for gratitude, and then it has some additional questions for you to explore how many hours did you save during the week, or how many hours you're projected out over the course of the next 52 weeks. If you do have some sort of downward change, if you do have some sort of change throughout the week, how many hours will you be saving yourself over the course of the week? Then you have those same prompts here. If you've had enough, if this has worked for you and you don't need any more, then it asks you if you need to collect any more data. And if you don't, you can go ahead and move on. And if you do, there is that PDF that you can download so that you can continue that activity. And I am starting to see a pattern here that it has like those prompts for you. So it seems like this is not really a journal necessarily that you would be able to do all of these 24 ideas or 24 principles here in the journal. It sounds more like similar to a book or a workbook where it's giving you the information, it's giving you some ideas, it's letting you try it out for 7 days. And then it's also saying, like, if you think that you want to do this for the long term, here are the resources that you can print out online or gather online so that you can continue them moving forward. But we're not going to give you like a whole year or a month even of the worksheets, but we're going to let you try it out. So once I reframe it into this being more of a workbook and less of a journal or notebook, then it seems like a little bit more palatable to me. Idea number 6 is the Eisenhower principle, and like I love the Eisenhower decision matrix and how we prioritize tasks given their urgency and their importance. It talks a little bit about that matrix and that square, and then for the next 7 days it gives you a worksheet where you can try that out. You can put your tasks in this matrix based on high or low urgency and high or low importance. You still have that highlight and low light of the day. You still are being prompted to rate your day, and you have the water tracker here as well as those days of the week and the dates on top. So that's remaining consistent across time, and I'll just point that out if it changes as we move forward. So you have 7 days of those. The weekly review again focuses on the thankfulness, and then you are asked to provide some ideas on whether or not the matrix has worked for you, if it's something that you want to look into, and it provides you additional resources. There is a quote here moving us into the next section. Section 7 is habits, and there is a little discussion here, a 2-minute read on habits, including the trigger, routine, reward loop for building habits. There is a 66-day chart for habit development. I think it's an interesting choice, 66 days. They selected 66 since that is the average number of days to acquire a pattern of behavior per a 2009 study. Now, there have been quite a few studies on behavior change and the average amount of time it takes to create a routine. There is a range of time. So if you're interested in learning more about like averages and how those could be deceitful, check out this video right here where I talk about what is normal, including like mathematical normal, averages, distribution curves, and things like that. But like, I understand now that's like a decent selection here, 66 days, where you can mark down whether or not you engaged in a behavior and potentially increasing the likelihood that you will do that routine or you have established that routine. And it looks like it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 habits or routines that you can track for 66 days. Happiness is wanting what you already have. If you've been around this channel, you might know that that is one definition of happiness within the psychological literature, and that is when the present moment meets your expectations or reality meets your expectations. That is an accepted definition of happiness. So section 8 focuses on clarity. It says that in order to establish complete clarity or better clarity, you might need to go to therapy for extended periods of time. Agree with that, but it's giving you some prompts to kind of guide your way. I love this prompt, like what do I want to do more of and what I want to do less of. It actually is part of my weekly and monthly reviews. But here it says, what do I want less of, and then how am I going to achieve that, more of, and how am I going to achieve that. And it gives you just the one page where you're doing that. Then these 2 pages focus on ranking yourself in a series of 6 domains. So job, health, finance, soul, spirit, and love. And this is similar to a whole life assessment that I do. I tend to do it at least once a year. Sometimes I do it twice a year, but it helps you understand where you are right now, where you feel like you're succeeding, or where you feel like it might be helpful for you to put some more focused energy or effort into. This is a little roadmap. Where do I want to go? It starts with a year, 5 years, and then life. It says job and private, so I'm guessing it's like personal life and professional life. Then this page says no more excuses. My favorite excuses is on this column. What can I do to eliminate it? What's the deadline, and how can I reward myself after eliminating one? What's your IKIGAI? I am not sure I'd be able to jump right into this without a little bit more guidance, but it seems like there are converging circles here. This pink are things that you love, then what are your personal strengths, what the world requires, and what you can get paid for. And here in the middle is the intersection of all of those things. The next page invites you to say what stresses you out, what is your stress factor, and this uses a 10-10-10 model to put that stress into perspective. Some people use the 5-5-5 model. I'm more familiar with that. But this asks you, will this be relevant in 10 hours, 10 days, or 10 years? And what will I do about it? So this is a way of decatastrophizing some situations. I ask myself and some of the patients that I work with, ask yourself, is this going to matter in 5 weeks? Is this going to matter in 5 months? Is this going to matter in 5 years? And then really save your energy for those things that are going to matter in the long haul. And is this even something that you should be stressing out about or spending this much energy? Then there is that weekly review that we are seeing over and over. And after that, you are asked again to rate where you stand in these 6 domains. Now, a question that I have here is like, should you come back to this at the end of like working through this journal or this workbook, or are they asking you to rate yourself after a week of experiments within this section? Because I'm not sure what kind of movement you can do in an entire life domain over the course of 7 days. So not sure about this evaluation being so close to the other one and then being like in the center of this book. This next one is Pitch Yourself. It is a 3-minute read, and the general gist is that you should have a little elevator pitch for yourself in order to be able to pitch yourself. And it starts with identifying the basics, like who you are, where you work, your children, what do you do, your top skills, known as the awesome list here. And then it asks you to examine your strengths, to talk to your friends about what you think you might be good at, any unusual facet of your personality, what are the character traits that you look for in other people. So they're asking you some questions for you to have a moment of self-exploration. Then that continues with things like your professional achievements, things that you like about yourself, critical moments in your life. And then you're invited to create your pitch, starting with hello, my name is. And then there are ways for you to evaluate your pitch to see if you have enough information, if it was memorable, is it short enough? And then there's some space for you to make a second draft. This is your private pitch, so I'm guessing that that is in your personal life. And then there's a networking pitch for your professional life, and you also have the opportunity to do that twice after you've had some evaluation of your first draft. Then you have what's called a long pitch here, where you can put in more information. You evaluate that pitch, and then you have the same weekly review. Moving on to compliments, this has to do with giving and receiving compliments. It gives you some specific guidelines on how to give effective compliments. Then you have a little tracker here to see how many compliments did you make today, if you said them or if you wrote them down. You can evaluate whether or not you could have expressed them better. What was it that you said or wrote? And then how could I have said it or written it better? Now, I am all about an after action review or evaluating your behavior after the fact. And I can see a potential benefit in doing that like 7 days a week or 7 days in a row, or potentially like every now and then. But the structure of this journal is just like a little funky for me. So it's like, it's not that this section itself is not useful. I'm just like, the structure of it is challenging for me. That's followed by a weekly review, and then you have a portion describing the importance of reading and being a lifelong learner, some of the psychological benefits of reading, no specific references, but he says that these are like his top 6 reasons for reading. Like he can use it to escape the outside world, to improve his creativity, his vocabulary, to feel more relaxed. So how reading has helped him. This page allows you to write books that you'd like to read, and you can write how much you've read today. I think the increments of the minutes here are also interesting, like 48 minutes, 42 minutes, 12 minutes. You can write how difficult or easy it was for you to read. And then there are these boxes, but there's no instructions on what to do in the box. The only prompt here is for ticking off in 6-minute increments, as well as what inspired or moved you while you were reading. So you have that for 7 days, and that's followed by the weekly review. You have another section here about trees, 1 tree per day. Next is marginal gains, and there's a 3-minute read on that. And the journal portion talks about getting a little bit better every day. So this is about how you can get 1% better and how over time you end up like 37 times better than when you started. So here you list out your 1% project, what you have to do and what holds you back. And you have, let's see, 7 little project pages, or my little better everyday pages. So 7 things that you want to work on. and that is followed by your weekly review. No has to do with setting boundaries and understanding what and how to say no to things. I am a big proponent on setting appropriate boundaries and practicing how to effectively and kindly saying no. These pages say cross out every no and celebrate it. That's a lot of no's for one day, much less 7 days, but maybe that's an appropriate amount of no's. I cannot say that I've actually ever documented how many no's I gave in a day. So it might be helpful, it might be effective, but it might be kind of fun to cross out the amount of no's that you said. Then you can write down the number of no's, and then there's just a square here. Again, no guidance, and that might be good. You can reflect a little bit on what the practice was, but other than that, around the page is the same as we've been seeing, and that goes on for those 7 pages before you go on to your weekly review. Single tasking, love single tasking. I think it's amazing. This asks you to be mindful on focusing on one thing per day. I love journals where the whole premise of it is just one thing or the most important thing, or identifying just 3 activities that you're gonna do for the day and everything else is extra. I agree with the spirit of what's happening here, the single tasking. Less is more, do one thing today. What did you notice? How did it feel? What were your thoughts about that? And you have 7 pages to practice that before you have your weekly review. The next section likely talks about things, because this says the average European has 10,000 things. I wonder how much the average American has. I'm gonna assume a little bit more than that. Section 15, or topic or idea 15, is clearing out. This has to do with clearing out your space room by room. I am actually working on a video for a whole house declutter. That is what I do every fall. I'm not sure why I do it in the fall and not in the spring, but there is a strategy of taking it piece by piece and room by room. So this really resonates with me, is going through and clearing out each room in your house. And it says here, sketch below after you've finished. You could do a little sketch after you've cleaned out whatever unnecessary stuff there was. I wonder if they want you to like design how it looks now and how it looks later, or like what the sketch should be about. But I do like the idea of this, actually sketching out your house and walking through and clearing out things. It is asking you to lighten up by 1 kilo or more per day for the entire month, leading you to have over 31 kilos less, not sure, having over 31 kilograms, not kilos, my American is showing. The concept, again, I really like. There are 30-day minimalist challenges that I think could be really helpful. And there is some evidence in the importance of having a clear, organized space and how that actually has secondary and tertiary effects on your mental health. So, agree. Like it, like the tracking and having a streak. That also increases the likelihood that you're going to engage in a behavior. This asks you to identify your annual goal, and if you could get to 365 kilograms, I must request a pounds version, but I could also take out a calculator. That's neither here nor there. There is a benefit. I'm with it. I'm here for it. Next section, 16, is the Pareto principle. And as many of you might know, the Pareto principle is that like 20% of outputs, 20% of inputs generates like 80% of the outputs. They have some other examples here, like 80% of the road traffic is on 20% of the roads. These other kind of like 80-20 rules. And the worksheets focus on identifying what is your high value effort. So what is that 20% of effort that's giving you 80% of the results? And what is that 80% of your efforts that's giving you the much smaller 20% of your results? You have 7 worksheets to work through that. Not sure how you would work through that. Is it like 7 different areas of your life? Is it over like 7 weeks, 7 months that you can do it? I can't imagine that you're doing it like day by day, but maybe that would work for some people. Weekly review follows. Section 17, being in your comfort zone. There are 7 ways that you can get out of your comfort zone, and he explains what those are. The worksheet says get out of your comfort zone, and then it has a little circle here, which is your comfort zone, and then it says this is where the magic happens outside of that circle. Take note of the ideas that might challenge you. Further away from the center, or the further away they are, the bigger the challenge. The closer they are to your comfort zone, the smaller the challenge. Then it encourages you to do a challenge a day. So why do I feel better once I've managed to cross my own limits? That's a question that you're asking every day. How was the experience? What's preventing you from daring or accepting this challenge on a day-to-day basis? And then what are some of the challenges that you've implemented? It has mini challenges, medium challenges, and big challenges. You have 7 days of these daily challenges before you move on to strengths. Also, big fan of strengths here. I am particularly fond of the VIA Strength Survey from the University of Pennsylvania. I will link it in the description box below. But identifying your strengths really helps you understand a deeper level of self-awareness and also identify some things that you may want to work on if those are things that you value. It's a 5-minute read, and most of it has to do with different strengths that people might have. And then you have 7 worksheets where you are identifying how your strengths benefits, where you are identifying where your strengths benefits you. Do I apply it enough? What's preventing me from fully developing this strength, or potentially like developing an area where you're not as strong? And then what can I do to improve it? 1, 2, and 3. Just like keeping with the theme here, I am not sure that I am fully tracking it, and clearly I didn't read through all of the introduction chapters, so it's quite possible that the information that I need to effectively utilize each of these pages is there, but it doesn't seem like there's a theme that like follows along in these pages. On one of my top strengths, or one of my, or am I focusing on things that are not my strengths? Things that I want to improve, things that I care about, things that I don't care about. Like, I feel like these worksheets should be more standalone products. And even when I do take the time to read through the introduction, it seems like I'm not getting a whole lot of guidance on how to use the pages. It just seems like there's a little bit too much going on here, and it might be like a really nice resource. This might be like a really awesome book, like 24 key ideas to a successful life, or like 25 ideas to maximize your productivity. But the way that it's put here, it's just like not as user-friendly to me. There is essentialism. I love focusing on what is essential and focusing on the important few rather than the trivial many. Essentialism was one of the books that has changed my perspective throughout my life. So it's probably like in the top 10 books that have influenced my thinking as well as my behavior. So there is some talk here about essentialism, and then the importance or the utility of temporary idleness, so doing nothing. And it's asking you to do nothing for a month. So cross out every day in which you do nothing for 10 minutes. Now, doing nothing might be really nice. I think the mechanism of action, like how it works and the connection that it has to mental health and well-being, might be either or both allowing you a moment for mindfulness, or potentially allowing you to reset in terms of your dopamine needs and always having, like, constantly having inputs. So we don't fully understand like the mechanisms exactly on how idleness and stillness can improve mental health and well-being, but we do have some evidence that supports it. And it's also a notion that has been around since like the ancient Stoics, right? They have been talking about the importance of stillness and how that can be really beneficial. So I like this activity. Do nothing for 10 minutes over the course of a month, and then you have the ability to create a streak here with that calendar. The other pages focus on your main priority. So I like that phrase, keep the main thing the main thing. My not to-do list, also something that I really support, is having a list of things that you're not gonna do either in a day, a week, a month, or even in your life. I'm gonna link some videos up here on personal policy lists and how beneficial it could be for you to understand what your policy is on things, and specifically on things that you may do or not do. I like that it has this, but again, if you haven't seen the theme, I'm just like not completely sold on this concept. They have 7 my not to-do lists. Do they want you to do a not to-do list every day? I'm down with that. Do they want you to do this, like revisit it every season of your life or every season of the year? You can use it in a variety of ways. That is followed by the weekly review, and then we are on a 2-minute section for goals. Now, goal setting, goal attainment, it's a really rich concept. So I'm not sure how much of a service it can get in a 2-minute read, but it does have its own approach, which is like this 3S approach, but it does have a 4-part system to increase your confidence in handling your goals. It asks you to identify a SMART goal for your professional life and your private life. It goes through what a SMART goal is. Those are goals that are specific, measurable, attractive is how he uses the A, and a lot of people use the A in many different ways. Realistic and timing rather than time-bound, which could make more sense to some people, but goes through the SMART goals, and then it asks you to jot down that goal using that SMART acronym. And at the beginning, you kind of have a loose goal, and then you put it through that SMART filter, and then you get a SMART goal at the end. You have a professional goal, a private goal, a health goal, a goal in any domain, because it just has my blank goal. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 of those additional goals before you get to the weekly review. We are at technique 21, which is the tomato technique. And I want to read this because I have no idea. I've never heard of the tomato technique. But apparently the tomato technique covers 5 steps. First, you write down the written formulation of the task. You set a timer for 25 minutes. You process the task until the timer rings. You adhere to a 5-minute break, taking longer breaks of 15 to 20 minutes after every 4 units. This sounds just like the Pomodoro technique, which is you have a regular interval of work followed by a prescribed interval of rest. Those intervals can change, and they can last like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then you can have a rest period. I like this concept that I haven't heard of this before, where after 4 iterations, you take a longer break. That might be nice. That might be a nice addition to the Pomodoro technique. But it says my tomato today. I think that's cute. My tomato today. All right, my most important task. So there's like 4 tomatoes right here, my second task and my third task. And it doesn't say when you like click off the tomatoes, but I'm assuming that the plan is for you to do like 3 tomatoes or 4 tomatoes, and then you take a long break. It also looks like you are writing down how long you think a task is going to take and then how long it actually took. That is really, really useful. That is actually one of the main reasons why I find that people are unable to stick to their time management strategies. It's because we are really poor predictors of how long things are going to take. There have been a series of studies conducted examining like how good we are at measuring how long things are going to take. Long story short, we kind of suck at it. So one way that you can modify it is by adding like 50% to tasks that you've done over and over again. So you're kind of better at predicting how long it's going to take, and adding twice as much time as you think it's going to take to novel tasks. I did an entire video on that as well that I will link in the cards up above. This is a really useful thing to do, even though I'm not a huge fan of like how they've structured this particular worksheet. So that goes on for 7 days. There's the weekly review. There's a cute puppy picture. Totally worth it just for the puppy pictures. For lesson 22, we are going to talk about emails and email management, including canceling of newsletters, avoiding back and forth, ways to organize your emails, how to answer your emails in batches, and using an auto-respond function. This guy and I would be good friends because I also think that having a good email management system is really important. Just like a bunch of stuff that I've showed you today, I do have a video on email management. I'm gonna link it up here. I might just do a whole playlist for this journal on things that I've covered in depth for the individual topics that were covered. But managing your email, it's like a big source of stress for people. And if you can come up with a good system to minimize email, to minimize the amount of times you touch a particular email, it is likely going to have some sort of impact on your work satisfaction at the very least, and potentially even just your overall mental health and well-being. There is a worksheet here, and it says, today I have ignored more than 5 emails or ignored more than 10 mails. I erased my superfluous mailbox content. I deactivated my email client, so like I turned off my email or logged off for 60 or 120 minutes. I emailed in batches. I sent emails that were more specific or committed. My Trollometer, don't know what that is, but maybe it goes in depth there at the beginning. I'm no troll, I'm a huge troll, and then there's a square here for you to use as you wish. There are 7 days of that. I'm not gonna act like a broken record and explain like, is this a task that you're doing like consecutively for 7 days, 7 work days? Is it just work email or home email? There's like a lot to digest. Weekly review follows, and then we are on lesson number 23 on saving. And this has to do with financial resources, paying in cash, not making impulse purchases, a 30-day waiting period, ways to save more simply. Entire books have been written on saving behavior, financial behavior, personal finance, thinking about whether or not like there is an impact to this, and how this information might be either standalone and more expansive, or potentially like a narrative of how the person used it in their life, and like important lessons I learned as an entrepreneur. I wonder if there was like a particular slant or particular storytelling that might have been helpful to accompany this, or additional information and maybe just one worksheet versus 7 worksheets for everything. Let's see what it goes into. So it says, keep saving until you're rich. Reviewing notebooks is pretty low drama, and it's hard for me not to like the content of things because usually I'm focused on like paper quality or something frivolous like that. So this is just like a new territory for me. Keep saving until you're rich. How much did I not spend today? Things that I guess you wanted to get that you didn't get. And then how much is that going to save you over the course of the year by multiplying that by 365? $1.25. And from those savings, other things that you can buy, which now seems like counterintuitive, also against the reward section that we did several chapters ago when the reward should not be counterintuitive to the goal. But also how much of those savings will you save in another fashion, or like, I guess, invest or put away into a savings account. You have 7 sections of that. So you can track your spending, which again, behavioral tracking, very useful. The delivery and execution here, just not my favorite. All right, weekly review, super good days. The last concept is journaling, which makes perfect sense because this is a journal. And there is a 4-minute read on the benefits of journaling, as well as some ways that you can choose to journal. And you have the ability to put in 1 line per day for 21 days. So this helps you develop a habit by doing like a micro version of that habit. Then you can increase to 2 lines a day. So I like the spirit of this. And you can do 2 lines a day for 16 days. Then we're at page 279. Thank you for sticking with me this whole time. And you have some numbered and dotted pages. The dots are a little bit darker than what I'm used to for Leuchtturm, and the numbers are definitely more pronounced and darker than what we usually get here. So this is 280. Then we're gonna flip all the way through and we're gonna get to 294. Before we get to the back, we have these acid-free stickers that you can use at the beginning of the book as well as on the binding of the book. And you have this gusset pocket. I don't think that I have to give you my general thoughts on this change journal because as we've been going along, you saw that I have some pretty like mixed opinions on this. It's not that the 24 concepts are not great. It's just like the presentation of it, the collection of it, like how they were grouped and ordered, the content of the worksheets and the number of worksheets. Like it seemed as though they were trying to stay consistent in terms of giving you an opportunity to practice something 7 times. But there's some things that make sense to practice daily, whereas some things it makes sense to like practice at some other interval. I'm not sure if I got the right amount of guidance that I wanted for each worksheet, nor do I feel like 2 to 5 minute read at the beginning of each week was probably enough. I'm definitely biased since I'm going to expect things like references. I am going to expect things like really clear guidance, like things like I provide here on my YouTube channel to try to guide you through the process. So I'm just like not a huge fan, and I'm really sad because I expected this to be something that I really enjoyed and it just like really hit the mark for me. But you let me know how you feel about this change journal. Am I being too harsh on it? Did I have a preconceived notion because I flipped through it before I turned on the camera and I already kind of like it gave me the ick a bit? So write in the comment section down below, do you like it? Do you not like it? If you like it, why? And if you don't like it, let me know why as well so that I can kind of get a more well-rounded perspective of this change journal. I still need to decide what I'm going to be doing with this journal since I know that I will not be using it. Stay tuned and subscribe to this channel for information on a potential giveaway for this guy, as well as if you're interested in other reviews of journals or notebooks. On this channel, we focus on wellness first, personal productivity. So if that's something that you are interested in, we'd love to have you as a part of our community.